A Charles Manson family member responsible for killing 7 people could possibly be granted parole. Coming up next on Good Evening San Diego, the sister of slain actress Sharon Tate will join us to discuss her initiative to keep the Manson follower behind bars. A Charles Manson family member who was convicted in a 1969 killing spree that left 7 people dead has now been found suitable for parole. 74-year-old Patricia Krenwinkel has been up for parole 15 times and denied 14 times before this. The decision will now be reviewed by the Board of Parole Hearings Legal Division, which can take up to 120 days. So if that decision is approved, Governor Newsom will then have 30 days to review it and either reverse the decision or allow it to stand. Krenwinkel was convicted of 7 counts of first-degree murder. So this decision by the parole panel is sparking public outrage, as you can imagine. The sister of actress Sharon Tate, who was pregnant when she was murdered, has now created a petition in an attempt to keep all of the Manson family murderers in prison. Debra joins us now to discuss. Debra, I applaud your tenacity and I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Well, the fact that this person was convicted of these kinds of murders and yet a parole board thinks she should be free is really hard for me to wrap my mind around, so I can only imagine how the news lands on you. What did you think when you heard?
I always expect it. Governor Brown implemented a policy and made it a law before he left office. It is the Elderly Inmate Act. Now, the Elderly Inmate Act states that whether or not a inmate is suitable for parole, they must be granted a parole date. So I expect to hear this news every single time, okay? But the fight has to happen in the governor's office. I've worked so far with my petition site, No Parole for MansonFamily.com, with the last 4 governors, and it has been effective. Ms. Krenwinkel's attorney likes to say that she's unlawfully bound, but that's not true. There is a precedent for denying these individuals their freedom based solely on the heinousness of their crime. And to tell you the truth, Ms. Krenwinkel, although I always applaud what they have accomplished in prison, didn't really do much until the last 5 years. She had done minimal programming. So I'm just not convinced that a cold, hard, heinous criminal such as this is rehabilitated or even can be rehabilitated.
You know, I'm not so sure if it's even an issue of the rehabilitation. You're talking about some of the worst crimes California ever has on our history. So whether they're a danger to society or rehabilitated, wouldn't it be a slap in the face of these victims and their families if they're allowed to be free?
Absolutely, 100%. And not just the Manson family murderers, but lots of other heinous killers that are in our grasps. It's a slap in all the victims' families' faces. We are being victimized and traumatized over and over again as a result of the state of California and their policies and laws. And it's criminal. It truly is.
Yeah, your sister never got a chance to reach her elderly years. That was stolen from her.
She did not. She did not. She did not. And her child didn't get a chance to live, even though he was 8.5 months viable. That's a human life. It should be 8 counts of first-degree murder by today's standards. Just like by today's standards, they would be considered domestic terrorists. There's quite a few things in there that, or factors, I should say, not things, factors that say to me, Debra, you have to question whether or not these people can come back into society.
Yeah, I think that it's not just this one Manson murderer, but you are also trying to keep all of them behind bars and keep our, streets safer and bring some justice to the victims. You were pretty young when your sister was murdered, but can you share with me at least a story or a memory that you have with her?
I have so many memories with my sister. We are Army brats. So when you're traveling the world and moving every 3 years, what you learn very quickly is that the only thing that's consistent is family. So my sister was one of the kindest, sweetest, most generous souls that I have ever met in my life to this date. And I'm getting up there in years. I'm staring 70 right down the barrel.
Wow. Well, you look amazing. What words could we send to the governor and the parole board when they're thinking about this? I mean, what's been taken from you over the past 5 decades that they really need to think about before they greenlight the freedom of a murderer?
Everything. My entire family is dead due to the stress of all of this. I am the only one left alive at this point. It's so many things, right down to trying to hold my family together, my family trying to hold itself together at a pivotal point in my growth when I should have been going off to college. The whole world crumbled. So it's so many things. I can't tell you. I'm used to this. This has been my life. I just don't want it to be anybody else's life. And as long as we can keep one more person from having to join this horrible club, it's definitely worth it to me.
Before we let you go, what can we do to help you with the petition? I know it's at noparoleformansonfamily.com, but what can we do other than get the word out?
Get the word out and write letters to the governor. On that site, it's not only signing the petition, but there is a place where you can write comments. And that way we know that it's going to go straight to his desk and not get lost in the paper shuffle that happens in any capital.
Well, as the community speaks up, let's be loud and consistent so it can't get lost in that shuffle.
This is one of the most heinous female criminals in American history. She's nothing, or was, and in my opinion, still isn't anything nice.
Yeah.
So,
well, she clearly hasn't fulfilled the price to pay yet. So, Debra, thank you so much for your time tonight. Of course, we're going to get this on our website and get everybody to know about your petition and come alongside you with your fight. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All right, you got it.
Good night.